When we think about wellness and performing, we usually think about how watching a brilliant show makes us feel. The laughter, the joy, the collective buzz of being in an audience together. But what about the person on stage? Welcome back to Exploring Ways to Wellness. I'm Sarah, and today I'm chatting to someone I consider a bit of a celebrity. The incredibly talented Mat Ricardo. Mat is a cabaret and variety performer who's been entertaining audiences for nearly 40 years. And if you ever get a chance to see him live, absolutely take it. But this conversation isn't really about performance. It's about something unexpected. We explore what being on stage actually does for Mat's well-being, where he feels most himself, and why creating a version of yourself for one part of your life can transform all the other parts too. It's an honest conversation about creativity, identity, finding your safe space in surprising places, and what happens when you discover something about yourself that reframes your entire life. Whether you're interested in the creative process, curious about how we construct versions of ourselves that we need to be, or simply want to hear a genuinely different perspective on wellness, this episode offers something special. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Exploring Ways to Wellness. I have something particularly special for you this week. Welcome, Mat.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
I'm
Also,
so
very
excited,
much.
as you can probably tell. I have seen you on
I'll take
stage
it.
many times. My family has enjoyed you on stage many times. So in terms of performing, how did you get into performing in the first place?
I was a very shy kid. I was one of those kids that was always happiest locked away in my bedroom making something, and I had a really bad stutter. So I was absolutely not destined to be a performer. But it's one of those weird things. I was on holiday with my parents when I was in my sort of young teens, and I saw a street performer, a busker, and he was a juggler, and he wasn't a particularly good juggler, but he was a really good showman. He was funny and charismatic and anarchic and just amazing. And I watched his show, and then I watched his next show, and then I watched all of his shows. And then next year, because we used to go on holiday to a festival time. So next year he was there again. And that was the year that I realized I wasn't his biggest fan. I was, but also I wanted to be him. He was all the things that I wasn't. He was confident and cool and seemingly had no fear and could do cool things. And I'd never seen anything like that. And it blew my mind. So when I got home, I went to the pet shop and I bought 3 little rubber dog balls, and I got a book from the library on how to juggle, and I learned to juggle.
Yeah. I did think you were going to say you bought a rabbit then. It's like straight in at the deep end.
Yeah, went to the pet shop, got sidetracked. Long story short, I now breed parrots. And yeah, and it's weird because I was still very shy. And I just wanted to learn this thing that I'd seen this cool guy do. But of course, unbeknownst to me, at least consciously, I was learning an art that is to be performed. So I just naturally kind of thought, well, I have to start doing shows now. And people that knew me were very shocked that this shy kid with a stutter would want to do things in front of people. And like, I think a year later, maybe a couple of years later, I did my first bit of busking and lost the stutter. The more I performed, the more I did comedy and spoke, the stutter vanished and I got more confident. And, so that kind of seeing that juggler and learning to juggle totally turned my life around, not just professionally and artistically, but, for my own well-being. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you find then you had like 2 personas, the on-stage version and the off-stage version? Or did the on-stage version almost start to become Like it seep
Oh,
into your off stage?
that is a brilliant question, and that is exactly what happened. So, as the little shy, stuttering kid, I was not happy.
Mm.
But yeah, as you learn to perform, and it took, a good number of years, as you start to perform and you get, if not good, then competent, at performing, you create a version of yourself for performing. And it's not like I was playing a different character or a different person, but the on-stage version of me was the cooler one, the more competent one, the one that knows what he's doing.
Mm.
And also the one that didn't stutter, and the one that was funny and was charming, and all the things that the real person, the real kid wanted to be, that everyone wants to be.
Yeah. That's
Um,
fascinating. You end up inspiring yourself to
yeah,
be you.
it's interesting because I've always said, because the name I was born under isn't Mat Ricardo.
Okay.
Mat Ricardo is, I guess, what you would call a stage name, but I've had this name since I was 18. So it's not a stage name, it's my label. The other name doesn't really apply to me, it applies to the kid. So I very deliberately, over the course of at least a decade, constructed a version of myself for stage that I was more happy with, that made me feel more able to exist. And that stage version helped the offstage version.
Yeah.
So, but, I did it very obviously. I changed my name, but I think everyone does this to an extent. Everyone constructs their adult self in a direction that they want to go in, but I just did it because I'm in the arts. I did it more kind of obviously.
Yeah. And you've clearly found that sort of outlet as well for your creativity. You may have started by following something that you'd seen and you appealed to you, but obviously you've sort of I don't know if you want to speak to listeners a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yeah, it's annoyingly, I mean, I've been doing this stupid job for nearly 40 years now, and I still can't really describe it like in a simple sentence. People say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, kind of complicated. It's a bit of this, it's a bit of that."
Yeah.
So I'm a cabaret and variety performer. My sort of training is juggling. Consider myself in terms of technical skills. I'm a juggler, but I don't really do much juggling. And what I do, a lot of people don't really see as juggling. It's complicated. See, I'm also a comedian, so I essentially do. I work at festivals and in cabaret, and I kind of work in every sort of venue you can imagine, which is something I really like about what I do. And I do tricks and jokes. I am known for in my tiny world. I am known for a trick with a tablecloth that I invented, where everyone knows the trick where you pull the tablecloth out from underneath all the things. I created the idea of putting the tablecloth back on the table underneath all the things. So that's kind of my signature trick. But yeah, I do tricks and jokes, and try and push that really simple and very old idea. I kind of push it in as interesting a direction as I can. I try and make it personal. I try and make it a little interesting, a little, it's a thing that's easy to do generically, but that also means it's easy to do in a slightly more sort of personal and groundbreaking, perhaps, way. That's what I try and do.
I find it really fascinating how you're improving the well-being of the people in the audience in giving them that sort of boost of endorphins and people feeling great leaving your show. I mean, it's a very upbeat show in that sense. There's a lot of clapping, there's a lot of laughing, there's a lot of kind of community of everyone being together and enjoying themselves at that time. So it's really interesting for me to see how that's reflected by the person on stage, what they get from it as well. I mean, do you find this sort of a lot of adrenaline gets you through, or after 40 years now, it sort of just becomes a job, or is there that spark every time you get up on stage?
Yeah, I think part of the job is to make sure it doesn't just feel like a job. I think if you're just going through the motions, then you can do that in any job, and most other jobs pay better. Do I get the spark of adrenaline? To an extent, yeah. Live work is so much about community. That's a perfect choice of word. So when something happens that is unforeseen, that is funny and silly, and me and the audience and everyone are united in one moment of that's beautiful. It gets no better than that. I think generally what I feel on stage is I don't kind of go, yeah, let's go, woo, I don't get
Yes,
that kind of
yeah.
hyped upness, but I get a sense of comfort. Performing is usually my kind of safe space. It's where I feel that I know what I'm doing the most. And it's just a really nice feeling to be in that flow state and to have an audience coming with you on that and being on a kind of journey through an act or a show. It's what I always say, the point of entertainment, and particularly I think live entertainment, is distraction, which kind of feels a little cynical and a little kind of shallow, but it is. It's you come into a theater or a cabaret venue, and its job and the performer's job is to make you forget what's outside of that venue, the outside world, your troubles, your worries. That's the job of us. And the thing is that also works for the performers. That's also true for the performers. So when I'm on stage performing, in one of my favorite sort of London burlesque clubs or cabaret clubs, me and the audience are in the same place of being able to forget about anything outside the club and just have a cocktail, put on the pretty lights and be silly on stage. And I think that is quite important.
That's incredible. I haven't really thought about it like that. It is almost like this sort of collective mindful moment of just being in the moment.
Yeah.
You're all enjoying that together, and your mobile phones are away and all the distractions of the day and family and work and everything has all just been put to one side for that moment.
Yeah. Time slows down and everything looks cooler in a once the spotlight's on. And there are many times when I've been having horrible days and I've been working in the evening, and I think people might think, oh, that's even worse, you have to go and pretend to have fun on stage. And it's like, no. If I can get myself into the wings, then once I'm on stage, it'll be a lot easier. These people in the audience, they'll help, which is that healthy or not? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, it works, doesn't it? So
it works for me, it works for them, so it seems okay.
yeah, exactly. Have you found that you have any additional reasons why performing would be more of a challenge or more of a benefit to your well-being?
It's hard for me to tell you how it would be for me if I wasn't a performer, because I've always been a performer for decades. Before I could even put words and descriptions to my mental illness and neurodiversity, I was already a performer. There is a kind of, this kind of feeds into the idea that a lot of people have that artists have a higher frequency of mental illness and neurodivergence. And I'm not sure that's true. I think that's one of those things where, well, artists just get to talk about it and get to include that in their work, because a lot of artists, make autobiographical work, even me, really. I don't think that painters are any more or less sad than, refuse collectors.
Yeah. And you can't necessarily tell from the type of work that the person is doing, can you? So a clown could be really depressed, or it could be a really happy person, just as somebody who's doing quite a sort of dark play could be either or as well. So this sort of everything is represented, just as in the community everything is represented.
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
guess the spotlight is more on performers, and I guess maybe because they have that platform, then there's some sort of expectation that when things come up, then they will use their platform to discuss them. But even that's not necessarily appropriate to the individual.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
But I know you have used your platform fairly recently to discuss the fact that you had an autism diagnosis. Is that what you would call it? Diagnosis?
It's a diagnosis. Yeah.
Since having that diagnosis, how has that affected your performing, or had you reflect on your performing in a different way?
That's a good question. Yeah, I got my diagnosis about 3 years ago, I think. About 3 years ago. And, I'm an idiot. So I thought that getting my diagnosis would be kind of the end of the journey, the journey of, oh, let's find this out and then I would find out yes or no. And you go, right, okay, that's that done. We can move on. Of course, it's the beginning of a journey.
Right.
I'm an idiot. So it's a lot to process. And I still feel just at the beginning point of that journey, getting an autism diagnosis, you have to kind of reframe all of your previous life with the new knowledge. And it's super helpful, but it's not painful.
Mm.
In terms of how it's affected my performing, that's a really good question. I'm not sure that it has. I don't know if that's because, whether I knew it or not, I was always neurodiverse. So I was always, the person I am. It's affected. So there's this phenomena and this is going to sound weird. There's a phenomena in the autistic community of masking, which is this kind of putting in personal effort to kind of hide your autistic traits and blend in more effectively with the non-autistic world. And it's exhausting, and it leads to a lot of pain for autistic people. So I've started to try and unmask, and that's hard because you have to go through the journey of what am I doing that is masking?
Right.
Which parts of my personality and my life and my habits are there to make other people more comfortable, but they make me less comfortable. So there's that.
So it's
So
brought consciousness to elements that you weren't necessarily conscious of before.
yeah, I think it's affected my life off stage massively, but on stage not much.
Which again, maybe that does tie into having the persona on stage that you sort of use, and off stage it's sort of more who is Matt, and as any human being is questioning themselves and their purpose
Yeah,
and all of that kind of thing. But you know what you're doing when you get on stage. You step into
exactly.
the performer, and as you say, like you have always been you, so you don't know how if
Exactly.
I wasn't
Yeah.
neurodiverse or if I didn't have autism, like how that would present on stage. There are other performers that that have also been on a similar journey of
Many. Yeah. And of course, there's this idea that, oh, everyone's autistic now. And there are no more neurodiverse people than there ever were. But now, there is slightly more available diagnosis. It's what I always say. We didn't know Pluto was there until 1926, but it was always there. We just didn't have a telescope. It's really interesting what you said about my when I'm on stage. It's like on stage is the thing that I am 100% in control of. So for decades, I've crafted that unknowingly to be a place that helps me, that will support me, that will make things easy for me. So that's why it hasn't changed. It's like before I knew that I was autistic, I was already in the small area in which I had control. I was creating a good space for myself. It's in the real world where I have less control, where things impact.
That's really fascinating, because somebody who is not a performer maybe would consider things to be the other way around. Like if you're standing up and you're in the public eye, on stage, that you would be less in control of what happens because the audience is a big part of what happens. But I guess, as you say, over these years, you've crafted this space that means you can react. You have that confidence that I can react to whatever happens, whether it's something on the stage or presumably you've had almost anything happen off stage as well.
Oh, I could tell you some stories. Yeah, it is weird because one of the classic things that cause pain for autistic people is like the unexpected and changing plans and stuff. And of course, when I'm on stage, I love to improvise. I embrace going off on tangents and engaging with hecklers, and I love all that stuff. And it would seem completely opposed to how, an autistic brain would want things. But I think it's because I'm doing that. I'm encouraging the unexpected within a structure that I have created and I'm in charge of.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
I mean, seriously, it's very impressive that you've managed to do that.
It's complicated, yeah.
I mean, it works. I've seen Matt on stage. It definitely works.
So far, so good.
It works, yeah. So do you have any special practices other than being in control of your space? Do you have any special practices you would do before going on stage from a well-being perspective to sort of either keep yourself safe, to keep yourself in control?
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on how I'm feeling that day. From a purely kind of pragmatic chemical point of view, I will have a coffee about an hour before I go on stage, partly because coffee is a very useful drug when you need to be all bouncy on stage when you're 56. But also, I like coffee. I like the ritual of coffee, and it gets me into a nice. So when I'm on tour, which I am at the moment quite a lot, I am that guy that brings his own espresso machine.
Oh, I love that. Wow.
Which is like simultaneously super cool and super not cool.
I love that you would turn up and they'd say, "Do you want a coffee?" And you're like, "No, I want a plug." I want a plug point.
That's exactly the situation. I travel with this little bag that's got a portable espresso machine. I travel with some coffee beans, a grinder.
Oh, wow.
So I get to my dressing room and I set up everything. But it's really nice because like an hour before the show starts, I grind my beans and make my coffee, and that nice ritual that gets me in the right zone. And, that's nice. I'm really lucky when I work in cabaret and burlesque and stuff. I'm always with a backstage full of performers, almost 100% that I love and admire, and that are the most diverse gang of fantastic weirdos. So it's nice. It's just really nice to be with people that do the same thing as you for largely the same reasons. They understand it. They are, sweet and rounded people. And, it's just that really helps. I find I much prefer doing that to if I'm on tour with just my solo show and it's just me. That's nice, but I really like just being in a backstage with a bunch of friends. That's nice.
It sounds like those are friends that within their own industry, they are themselves. They are comfortable just being rather than having some expectation of a certain type of celebrity attached. It's just actually a group of creative performers and entertainers who just do their thing and love it.
Yeah, exactly. They're all real artists. And, in cabaret, nobody earns a lot of money. We're not rich and famous, and that's why it's good. That's why the people that are doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
In terms of, I don't have many sort of habits or, a lot of performers have little sort of things that they think bring them luck that they do just before they go out and all that stuff. I don't really have that apart from the coffee. But what I do, the one thing I do, if I feel that I need just a little boost of kind of, I don't know, good feeling before I go out on stage. There's a thing that, the talk show host, Stephen Colbert.
Yes.
He mentioned doing this in an interview, and it's what he does. And I tried it and it really works. So what I do is just before, when I'm standing in the wings, just before I go out, in the sort of 30 seconds before I go out, I imagine that just out of my eye line backstage, there's one particular old friend who I adore and who is no longer with us. And you just let yourself believe they're there. And then you look over and you imagine they're there and you kind of get that feeling of, oh, you're here. And then you walk out. And it's this really weird thing, but it's just like, it just gives you this little feeling of joy.
Yes.
And Stephen Colbert does that before he comes out on stage every night on TV. And I do it occasionally when I feel that I need that extra boost. It really works.
Wow, that's incredible. And definitely a tip I'll be using.
It's a
I'm
really odd
sure.
little
That's
self-hypnosis
amazing.
thing.
Yeah.
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 Um,
Incredible. And then is there anything afterwards? Do you find that you need to have some kind of recovery time, or are you straight in the car and off home?
um, hmm, it depends on the gig.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a sort of club where I'm getting the train home, then I do quite like the feeling, and it is purely just me kind of pursuing a kind of cinematic, like romantic ideal of what I do. But I do like the feeling of having that heat and that sweat on your body that you generate on stage and taking that outside and walking home with that feeling. It's a really nice feeling. It's someone described it as, the applause still ringing in your ears as you're getting on the train,
Yeah.
That's a nice feeling. That little bit of adrenaline from the show gets me home.
Yeah.
But also, I really like my favorite place to be on a bill of performers. Obviously, it's always nice to headline, but my actual secret favorite place to be in a bill is at the end of the first half. So I can close one section of the show, and that's always nice. Then I can pack all my stuff away, and then I can go out the front and have a drink and watch the other half of the show and watch my friends. You've got the endorphins in you from having performed, so I feel confident and okay socializing, which I don't usually. I'll get a cocktail from the bar and I'll sit at the back and I'll watch the show, and it's so great watching your friends be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And knowing you can enjoy it with them afterwards as well. And I guess there's again that sort of collective feeling afterwards, that joy of knowing that you've all done such a fantastic job. And
it's a real chosen family. I consider them my family.
Yeah, I love it. People can go and see you, Matt. Have you got any shows coming up for Christmas or anything?
I'm on tour at the moment with a big burlesque show called An Evening of Burlesque, which we play all the kind of big theatres around the country. And I do a sort of 20-minute spot in that. And also at the end, I dance. So I'm apologising.
Wow. I haven't seen that. That sounds
nobody wants that. I was forced into it. And even worse, I've started enjoying it, and that does not bode well, not for the medium of dance. And it's weird. My work is kind of all over the place and sporadic, and so the best way to find out where I'm going to be next is to follow me on social media, and I usually post about the fun shows.
Yeah. I'll make sure that all the links to your social media are in the show notes for listeners. So I would encourage people to go there and have a look at that. I would also definitely encourage people to go on YouTube as well. You have the most amazing channel on YouTube of your musings and just things that come to you and experiences that you have. And they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much.
The way that you've shot them. So I encourage people to go and have a look there as well. But another thing, and another reason why I wanted to speak to you today, is the fact that you have a new book out, which really intrigued me, because when I first saw it, I thought, oh, this is a magic book for children. But actually, when I delved into it, I thought, there's more to this. So would you mind talking us through a little bit about why you wrote the book and what it covers?
Yeah, thank you, by the way. Yes, my book it's called The Magic in You. And it's, as you say, it's not quite what it appears to be, although it is that too. It is on the surface, it is a sort of encyclopedia of amazing things that anyone can learn. So there's a chapter on circus tricks, there's a chapter on magic, a chapter on comedy, a chapter on science, and a chapter on like fun spy tricks and survival-y stuff. So that is what it is, and there's tons and tons of tricks and explanations of how to do them. But what it's also about is how to be a slightly happier person, possibly. And when I had a meeting with my publisher, they came up with this phrase, and I simultaneously hate and love this phrase. They called it a stealth help book.
Oh, wow.
Good. I hate how good that is. So like the circus chapter is really about how to deal with failure, because when you're learning any trick, you can't do it and you fail. And society kind of tells you that if you fail, then you're a loser. And that's ridiculous. Anyone, when they start juggling, cannot juggle. That's why you're learning.
Yeah.
But still, you feel when you try and juggle and you can't because you haven't learned, you still feel bad. And that's weird, because of course you can't. So it's about how to reframe failure as, in fact, learning.
But I did follow some videos you did with the kids when, I think it was during lockdown, some juggling videos.
Yes.
And it was much about like failing on purpose to begin with, about on purpose dropping the ball, just so that you knew what it was like and how to recover from that, and not to be frightened about the fact that this will happen lots of times. And that's part of learning.
Yeah. My first lesson when I teach someone to juggle is to throw the ball up and make no attempt to catch it and just let it fall. And then you go, right, that is a drop. That will happen a lot. And here's how to feel about it, and that's really key. So the circus chapter is about failure. The comedy chapter is about bullying. The magic chapter is about friendship. The science chapter is about critical thinking, and when someone tells you something, how to find out if it's true or not, which I think in the social media world kids are in now is useful.
Essential.
And then the final chapter with the spy stuff in it is about mental health, really. Books take ages. I'm a show business person. I'm used to someone calling me on Monday and saying you're free on Friday. Books take years. But yes, it is on sale now, and I'm kind of quite low key on most of the things that I do. Am I performing? I'm like, oh yeah, it's fun. With the book, I'm actually quite proud of myself.
Yeah,
I'm letting myself do that,
Yeah. You should be proud of it. It's an incredible achievement. And again, I would suggest to any parents out there to have a look at it, and they'll probably find themselves reading it themselves. That's passing it on to any children. What is the ideal sort of age is it aimed at?
Because publishing is kind of works in like age chunks. So I think technically it's between 9 and 12, 9 and 13. I think that's, but really I think it's from about 8 and then upwards into adulthood. I mean, it is written for kids, but it's kind of funny, and or I hope it's kind of funny. And you can learn to do things, and everyone likes to learn to do something, some cool little magic trick or something. My favorite thing about the book is I put one thing in that I assumed they would not let me keep in the book. I thought, you write too much. And there was one bit I thought, well, they'll cut this, but I want to see, and it was how to pick locks, and they let me keep it in.
Oh,
Kids can learn to actually genuinely pick locks from this, which I was like, are you sure? And my publisher were like, yeah, we think it's brilliant. I was like, okay, fine. Enjoy the emails you're going to get.
Yeah, but sometimes you do need to just it sounds like you've got a fantastic publisher, number one.
I really have.
Sometimes you just need to sort of push the envelope a bit, don't you?
It's
Depending
true.
on how you approach it, it's valuable.
I think the lockpicking thing, it is a bit of mischief in the book. But I think also it's a really good symbol for how I'm approaching this, because everyone relies on locks. Most people don't really know how they work. And that's interesting, that your house is secured by a small thing that you don't really understand, but you trust it. So I think, to learn to pick locks, you have to learn how a lock works. So that's interesting. And then once you have that sort of superpower of being able to pick locks, then you have to be a good person. Now it becomes a moral thing. Here's what you can use it for. Here's what you shouldn't use it for. I think that's, for a young person, there's knowledge there. There's learning about the world. There's learning about their own morality. That's interesting stuff, just in one little skill.
Yeah. And the best bit is they probably don't realize how much they're learning, because it's put in a format that's fun, and it's
exactly. Yeah, if it's fun, they're motivated. They will find themselves learning and doing homework for me.
Yes. Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. Well, I could talk to you forever, Matt. This was absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate you spending some time with us today and
My
sharing your
absolute pleasure.
experiences. I'll put some links in the show notes, including, I'm sure there'll be some bookshop links in there that we can add in as well. But thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
What a joy that conversation was. Matt is exactly as warm and thoughtful off stage as he is entertaining on stage, and I hope you felt that come through. There are so many brilliant insights from today's chat, but a few things really stayed with me. First, the idea that performing, being on stage in front of people, can actually be someone's safe space. Matt described it as the place where he has the most control, where he's crafted an environment over decades that supports him. For many of us, being in the spotlight will be terrifying, but Matt shows us that wellness looks different for everyone, and sometimes our safe spaces are in the most unexpected places. I loved his honesty about the autism diagnosis being the beginning of a journey, not the end. That understanding of unmasking, figuring out which parts of yourself are there to make others comfortable versus making you comfortable. It's profound work that goes beyond neurodiversity. I think we all do some version of masking, don't we? And that ritual he shared about imagining a loved friend from just out of sight before going on stage. That little moment of joy and connection before performing. Beautiful. I'll definitely be trying that myself. The concept of distraction being the point of live entertainment really struck me too. It's not shallow, it's actually quite powerful. Creating a space where everyone, including the performer, can forget the outside world and just be present together. It's almost like a collective mindful moment, isn't it? Phones away, troubles set to one side, just sharing an experience in real time. I also loved hearing about his chosen family backstage, that community of fantastic weirdos who understand each other because they do the same thing for the same reasons. That sense of belonging and acceptance is so vital to our well-being. And Matt's book, The Magic in You, what a brilliant concept! A self-help book that teaches kids circus tricks, magic and comedy, while actually teaching them about dealing with failure, handling bullying, building friendships and understanding mental health. Genius! If you want to see Matt perform, follow him on social media. I've put all the links in the show notes. He's touring with an evening of burlesque that's happening now, and yes, apparently he's dancing in it. I haven't seen it yet, so I might need to just catch another show myself. Also check out his YouTube channel. It's full of beautiful short films and musings that are genuinely moving. And of course, The Magic in You is available now, aimed at ages 8 to 13. But honestly, it sounds like adults will get just as much from it. Thank you so much to Matt for such an honest, warm and genuinely different conversation about wellness and performing. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember there are many paths to wellness and the best one is the one that makes you feel most like yourself, even if it's somewhere unexpected.